Hello, my name is Gavin Ebo.
Hello, my name is Julie RIVAS.
Hi guys, my name is Nicole SILKMAN.
Hello, my name is McLEOD.
Our topic is business advice.
So we want to ask the question, what makes business advice effective and persuasive? Is it the context of the advice? Is it the success it provides? Or is it the credibility of the speaker? Well, the common thread throughout this analysis reveals that the credibility of the rhetor is the primary factor in an audience accepting business advice. Business advice is a rhetorical act where the rhetor presents tips for their audiences for purposes such as establishing a presence, financial gain, success, etc. When audiences consider asking and receiving business advice, they will first consider the source. This analysis considers the rhetorical strategies used by Gary Vaynerchuk, Thomas Oliver, and Nicholas Haney, and analyzes their rhetorical ethos to persuade audiences to align with their goals, as well as their identity to their course of action. If the goal of rhetoric is to convince an audience to choose one course of action over the other or to believe a certain way, then rhetors must use the rhetorical strategies available, chiefly their ethos, in attempting to persuade audiences regardless of the quality of such advice.
For this part of the presentation, I will present one of Gary Vaynerchuk's live Q&A sessions, where he is giving advice to Boyle Boss owner Miles Lapierre in front of a live Discord audience. While this artifact may contain numerous symbols and rhetorical strategies to persuade Lapierre and other audience members to follow Vaynerchuk's advice and way of thinking, I'll focus on one rhetorical claim and rhetorical significance of this artifact. But before we do that, let's look at a quick bio of Vaynerchuk.
Gary Vaynerchuk, also known as GaryVee, is a 5-time New York Times best-selling author, public speaker, and serial entrepreneur. Gary started off as a wine connoisseur that helped his father's wine business expand and grow from $4 million to $60 million in annual sales. In 2009, Gary and his brother AJ founded VaynerMedia, a social media digital agency where Gary sits as CEO. He is also the CEO of his own communications company called VaynerX. Vaynerchuk's social media presence and content of providing business advice and strategies with the philosophy of humility, living one's individual truth, and choosing family and happiness has gained him 44 million social media followers. He has launched numerous ventures, including a live Q&A session called Ask GaryVee, where he provides business advice and strategies to guests and audience members. Now, let's go over the context of this artifact. Miles Lapierre owns and operates grocery retail business Boyle Boss with his brother and asks Vaynerchuk how they can maximize their efficiency and their dollar. But Vaynerchuk persuades Lapierre and audiences to not focus on maximizing the dollar, but to just enjoy the process of inventing and creating. Vaynerchuk strengthens his persuasion tool by sharing stories with Lapierre and the audience.
Do you remember the video of composite character Gordon Gekko's famous speech?
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
Well, in this rhetorical theater, which is Vaynerchuk's live Q&A session, Vaynerchuk is doing the exact same thing with his audience, but with a different message.
While Gordon Gekko's message is based on Wall Street's philosophy of maximizing profits at any cost, Vaynerchuk stirs the conversation away from maximizing the dollar and inserts an exigence by saying that it's something people today don't understand. While Gekko's utterance is to rally stock market workers and shareholders to be as greedy as the majority shareholders, Vaynerchuk's utterance is a call for entrepreneurs and business owners of today to focus on living their individual truth and choosing humility over money to achieve happiness and success.
understand. What we should all be doing out here is enjoying it more so than maximizing every dollar. There are people who love their business at $3 million a year and then think they need to grow and go to 4 million, but they had to hire this and they had to do this, and now they hate it. And I'm like, why didn't you just stay at 3 and be fucking happy as fuck?
Vaynerchuk is using the numbers to tell a story of what happens when someone chooses money over individual truth and happiness. While $3 million to $4 million shows financial growth, in Vaynerchuk's story, it also shows how one's happiness can decrease. Copier states that when incorporating human qualities and good reasoning, rhetoric becomes a powerful persuasive tool when reaching a goal in mind. While Gecko in the Chicago School of Economics' ideology is persuading people to be greedy for the need and goals for success and evolving in a free market, Vaynerchuk's social media content incorporates people's need to be happy, to be treated kindly, and to live their truth to reach the goal of success and evolving and thriving in today's market. While audiences may have their own views of success or see a blend of both to be the keys to success, Vaynerchuk's relevancy and established credibility continues to expand as numerous social media platforms present his business advice and strategies to aspiring or established business owners and entrepreneurs around the world.
Okay, let's throw it over to Julie.
So, for my part of the presentation, we will look into my analysis of Gary Vaynerchuk, the best business advice for 2023 to 2024, made by a fan page. And I will just be showing a minute clip of an 11-minute seminar.
There are people in this room that will do one fun fact, one video of here's a fun fact of the opportunities in mortgages, just that. Here's a fun fact of one opportunity in mortgages, post that on Instagram Reels and TikTok, and with no followers. You do not have an account yet, and it's your 7th video, and one video like that may go viral and lead to more leads for you in a 24-hour window than you would get the entire year. That happens every day. Yet, we continue to choose not to look. What's happening in this room is people are choosing not to look. You just made a decision that you can't get business from TikTok. You just made that decision. You didn't post 50 times on it. You didn't optimize your profile. You don't have your website linked to the URL of your TikTok and then a video did solid and you got leads.
And so, the question I have for you guys is, why are people in 2023 to 2024 interested in what GaryVee has to say? Well, in my findings, I found that in 2023, about 8.4 million Americans need about 2 jobs to maintain their living expenses. So Gary's success in entrepreneurship has people agreeing and listening to his advice. The industry that he's in has many rewards, such as being your own boss, having flexibility, and most importantly, wealth that can remove Americans from overworking to live. Now I will talk about my findings of Gary's strategies and the ways he persuades his audience to use technology, which is social media platforms, to build their brands up, their businesses up. So my 3 findings were his ethos, the way he discusses taking risks, and lastly, how he talks about brand building as well. So ethos will always be a part of a speaker's credibility to deem them bad or good when it correlates to their actions and speech. Besides our knowledge about GaryVee and the artifact being made by a fan, the intent in his speech and demeanor show he knows what he's talking about. If you were to accidentally walk into his seminar that you just saw, by the end of it, you will have an established ethos that he's good at talking about. He knows how to talk about business. He knows what is best for building a business up in 2023 to 2024. So by the end of it, you would probably do what he's advising. So first I'll talk about how he expresses confidence, does not need to read a speech, he has assertive gesture, and speaks loudly and smoothly, almost naturally as he approaches each key message. However, GaryVee's speech is not natural, as this is a seminar and it was thought out. So when he talks about taking risks, he points out to his audience that people are not taking the advantages the internet has to offer. When they don't take the argument he's advising of them to do for their business, they are choosing not to be like him, a successful entrepreneur. So that is one way that he talks about taking risks, that they're giving up before even starting. As he mentioned, you've just made a decision that you can't get business on TikTok. He learns that they are giving up before starting. And then lastly, his argument about brand building. GaryVee is arguing to his audiences they need to post online because of the long-term goal, brand building. As you saw in the video, he was explaining how you can make 7 videos, but then one go viral. He also does understand that if you do post if you post 100 videos, 40 videos within a month, maybe it will not lead to success in that month, but in the future it will. Or it might. Excuse me. He's providing a reason to his audience that there will be a high probability that using social media platforms of today's technology will get them to go viral to gain profit in the future. According to our reading, Kuiper, providing a reason for audiences to listen will persuade them, but not that the argument will reap greater success than a compelling solution. The probability is higher. So that is one way he is able to persuade his audience to use social media. In the future, there is higher probability that you will gain success and eventually gain profit. So he also uses a really good example of a famous brand, Nike. You all probably heard of them. Nice shoes for sports. This example, he explains their 30-year brand building led him to continue buying their shoes. It was not just because they were shoes, but because of what their brand meant. All businesses had to build their brand up, and Gary did that as well throughout his 20s. As he stated in an interview, I worked 50 to 52 Saturdays a year, from 22 to 29, until I met my wife and started having to build some level of work-life balance. That's hard work. So that is an example. Those are 2 prime examples. GaryVee, who is a successful entrepreneur, and second, Nike, which is a expensive, profitable brand that everyone knows and loves. But GaryVee does not mention that Nike or even himself had the strategies they used during their times, which was 30 years ago, probably was not the same technology as it is today, but it's a prime example of how they used what they had in the moment and it got them to where they are now, which is success. And that's what the audience is looking for in 2023 and 2024, success. So these are 3 of my findings that show how his ethos was established and how these tips that he gave them would persuade them to post in that day or in the future to build their brand up and take more risks and be like him, a successful entrepreneur. On to the next speaker.
So for today, for the final project, I chose to analyze Nicholas Haney, and let me just move it first. So Nicholas Haney, I chose to analyze his "How to Start Your Own Business Without Investors" TED Talk video. So he is the co-founder and CEO of a startup sustainable clothing brand, which what I found interesting is that he plants a tree for every product sold. And then, despite the business sustainable focus, he intends to discuss how to build a business without investors. He talked about how he built his business with only $5,000 and without a business plan. And he outlines 5 essential tips for starting a business without external funding. So this is just his video, and I posted a link to it. So he also mentioned that it's not about having a groundbreaking idea, but rather about implementing it. He uses examples in his video like Facebook and Lyft, which initially had simple ideas but achieved success throughout effective implementation. He also says perfection isn't necessary, especially when you start with limited resources. Nicholas shares personal examples of early product flaws such as t-shirts and towels, and he illustrated how learning from mistakes and customer feedback is very crucial when wanting to start your own business. He also mentioned that do not hesitate to ask for help, whether it's from family, friends, or from other business advisors. He also said that flexibility is essential when resources are tight. Nicholas describes how they held meetings in restaurants and bars because they couldn't afford an office and then he even responded to customer service sometimes from a bathroom, and he was just explaining to us how you need to do all those things while starting your own business. But he also stated in his talk that Google is the best book in the world for learning and finding solutions. He emphasizes using Google to find resources and answers and inspiration for business-related issues. So for findings, I found that he uses ethos, he did not use investors, and he also very much emphasized on don't strive for perfection. So in examining Nicholas's strategy, it is crucial to highlight his masterful use of ethos in crafting an engaging and persuasive narrative. Ethos allows a speaker to establish credibility and trustworthiness, but Nicholas's use of ethos transcends more credibility. It creates a palpable connection with his audience, fostering a sense of shared identity or consistency. The connection is not rhetorical, but it's deeply strategic in enhancing the impact of his message. Nicholas's story resonates because he shares his journey of overcoming with limited resources, operating without substantial investors, with a small team and minimal financial input. His story doesn't just share, it's not just a success story. It invites the audience into a shared space where they can themselves mirror in his experiences. The message is powerful and clear. If I can succeed under these conditions, so can you. And that's something I really thought was a great message. And then he also encourages aspiring business owners to listen and adopt his approaches. He stands as a testament to the fact that one can start a scale business with creativity and minimal resource. And the notion that one needs a large influx of capital to be successful. Instead, a bootstrap model that leverages creativity and lean operations. Emphasizing that his success stemmed from execution rather than flawless idea, Nicholas inspires his audience to take action without waiting for the perfect moment. His approach emphasizes continuous improvement and the practical steps one can take today, which significantly lowers barriers for aspiring entrepreneurs. And I would say in conclusion, Nicholas Haney uses ethos, does more than establish his authority. It builds a bridge between his experiences and those of his audience by fostering a sense of consistency. He not only persuades his listeners to embrace his method, but also empowers them with the belief that they too can navigate the entrepreneurial landscape. But it may be challenging. And I say let's draw inspiration from his journey as we endeavor to advance our own entrepreneurship opportunities.
All right, so my name is William McLeod, and today I'll be presenting on an article written by Tom Oliver. Oliver is a businessman, self-purported, very successful, entrepreneur and coach to other successful entrepreneurs. Basically, he wrote this article where he used Elon Musk as an example of 5 strategies that he thinks are important for the CEOs of today. And I'm going to be analyzing his credibility. Unfortunately, I do not think that Tom Oliver is a very credible author. And the reasons I don't think that is because of various things. First is that the author's Tom Oliver is being published on a kind of random newspaper, the Philippine Daily Inquirer. It's not a major business advice paper like Forbes or Fortune 500 would be. So that's something that kind of draws my attention. Also, his lack of citation. Throughout his article, he mentions various things, various ways that people view his success. And when you try to click links, it takes you to Wikipedia pages rather than actual sources like articles written about him. He also just claims to be a successful guy, and yet throughout his entire personal website, there's just not a lot of meat on the bones, and he kind of says things without backing it up. And finally, he's using somebody else's strategies, Elon Musk's, and finally, Tom Oliver uses another strategies to have his own success. Basically, he takes things that he sees in Elon Musk's business practices. He takes the successful things that he has done in order to become such a wealthy man, one of the most wealthy on planet Earth, and he pins them to his own ideas. Not to say that the ideas are bad or that the ideas are wrong. It's just taking somebody else's success and kind of using it for your own success. And so that's kind of something that I think is not good as far as his credibility goes. And so combined with the unknown media source, the lack of citations, and the just general lack of information, I don't think that Tom Oliver is a very credible person. And obviously, when we're considering what business advice we should heed, we need to first and foremost go to what is credible, to whether or not the author is credible. And if he or she is not, then we should not take the advice with 100% seriousness. Rather, we should take it with a grain of salt. All right. Well, in conclusion, we're at the end of our presentation on business advice and whether or not what's important when we're considering whether or not we should listen to someone's business advice. Me and my partners all looked at various authors, various business people in determining whether or not their business advice is credible. And the first thing that we realize when we're asking the question, whose advice should we listen to, or why should we listen to someone's advice, the first thing we need to go to, and the most important step in determining that, would be the credibility of the source. So we looked at GaryVee, we looked at Tom Oliver, we looked at Nicholas Haney, and basically determined that if the source is not credible, you shouldn't listen to the advice. Or if you do, you definitely should be wary about whether or not it's something worth listening to. And so that concludes our presentation. And Nicole has for us discussion prompts.
For the discussion question, we wanted to ask, what is your idea of success? And we wanted to ask what your goal is. So based on the examples we have provided in this presentation, who aligns more with your definition of success and goals? Who would you listen to for advice? Hope that you guys can answer those questions after our presentation, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.